Hey y'all, it's July the 25th, 2017, and I wanted to holler at y'all about some stuff, man. Some stuff that I feel like I gotta share with everybody right now. And of course, you already know, it's regarding Katelyn Nicole Davis. Alright, and I feel like, honestly, because it's been weighing on me a little bit, especially today, it's been weighing on me. There's some things that I pretty well obligated to share with y'all. All right. Number one, you know what I'm saying? I would like to acknowledge that there's a lot of people who are heavily invested in this particular situation. And there's a lot of people who's just coming to find out about this situation. There's still new people to this story. All right. And then we should expect people in the future, for as long as we can see into the future, people are going to be hearing about this story. You might notice that there's people from China, there's people from all over the world who heard of this story and are very concerned. And they're very saddened by this situation and stuff like that. I want to acknowledge those people out there and holler at those people real quick. For those who are kind of more heavily invested and been invested for a while, as far as wanting to know the details, wanting to see some progress, I want to acknowledge that here in the public eye, upon the internet and those kind of things, there really hasn't been very much progress. It's been, at least lately, it's kind of slowed almost to a stop, the progress. All right? And a lot of people are noticing that. They might be very frustrated by that, and I can understand the feeling. All right, but I had to let you know, just from the different little people who I might know closer to the situation. What I want to let y'all know is that behind the scenes, all right, stuff actually is taking place. There is progression. So here in the public eye, maybe on the internet, you haven't seen very much. You might be thirsty for some sort of development. I mean, you might be wanting to see justice. And we've already seen some justice, but you might want to see more, right? And I can't blame you. But like I said, there are things going on behind the scenes. There is movement, there is activity, and I did want to assure y'all of that. All right? But speaking of which, I had to let y'all know, and if you've seen any of my videos pertaining to the subject, you'll know that it's been my opinion for a while now that ain't nobody gonna see a jail cell off this, right? Despite all the guilty parties, and there's a number of them. My opinion for a while has been there ain't nobody gonna see a jail cell off this, right? And I had to let you know, from what I have heard, that I don't know if I'm necessarily at liberty to share with y'all. From what I heard, it does not look like anybody's going to see a jail cell off this, alright? That's just what I've seen, from what I've heard, from what I've seen behind the scenes. The information that I've gotten would point to ain't nobody going to see a jail cell. But that really isn't the end of everybody's hope here, alright? Because we already know that we have a system, and our system, although it's good, it needs work, dude. We're not getting the justice that everybody's wanting out here. Right? So some people see that and they lose hope off that. I gotta reassure you that that's not necessary, the losing of hope. Alright, there's things that are happening. This situation is not going away. It's not never gonna go away. Katelyn Nicole Davis, her name's gonna live on forever. Rest assured of that. Promise you. If not by me, by a whole host of other people. This ain't going away. You understand? And progress is gonna be had, even though there's not much progress right now. There will be. All right. So I say all that. It's kind of a preface to say, me myself personally, you might, if you're familiar with what I've been saying as far as the subject, I do want to point out that I do have a theory, alright, as to how all this came about. Alright, first of all, you might already know that I think everybody in and around Katelyn Nicole is guilty, dude. I would like to see them in a jail cell or up under a jail cell. Some of them. Alright. But you're also, you might be aware of my particular theory, and that the Word of God has a lot to do with this. Right? And in the end, the Word of God will bring about death and carnage and things like that. Not because it in and of itself does that, but when a person hears the Word of God and somehow they lose sight of it or they disregard it, that can be deadly dangerous. And I believe that is what happened in this particular situation. The Word of God was heard and it was ignored. And in the end, what we got was a death from it. The death of a very beautiful, promising young girl named Katelyn. Alright. So, but if you listen to that theory, you might think in your head, what is he saying? What is he saying? What is he implying? That Katelyn Nicole herself is basically responsible for her death, right? Considering all these people around her making her life miserable, is what this guy's saying? Is he saying that Katelyn Nicole, this little girl, is responsible for her own death? I'm here just to go ahead and establish further that yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I understand completely how controversial something like that would be. You know what I'm saying? People are going to hear that and become enraged. They're going to become all sort of offended because I said this. Alright? But we already understand anger doesn't get us nowhere. In fact, anger, all it really ever does is cloud our judgment as people, and it gets us to not fully understanding reality. Alright? So I want to go ahead and elaborate. Yes, I do think my theory is that Katelyn Nicole is responsible for her own death. Alright? You might say, oh, there's people that abused her and they made her life a damn nightmare, and all these people over here, and then certain people were trying to sexually harass her and all sort of stuff, and certain people even in fact told her to go ahead and hang herself. So why in the world could I say that Katelyn Nicole, this young girl, is responsible for her own death? The reason is because it's right there in front of our faces. There's people out here with anger who their perspective is getting sincerely messed up right now. Because let's think about this. Alright, sure, these people were very bad to Katelyn. I understand. Sure, Anthony Lee Rogers probably did tell Katelyn to go hang herself, that she's a worthless whore. I do believe that he did that. Alright, but at the end of the day, what's monumental to understand is none of these people, none of them, had a gun up to Katelyn's head. You understand? Probably none of them taught her how to tie a noose. None of them showed her the tree. Alright? Sure, there's people who might have encouraged her, or perhaps failed at not discouraging her from doing this. But at the end of the day, Katelyn did this. Katelyn is responsible for taking her own life. And it's important that we remember that. It's important that we never forget that Katelyn did it, because this is going to bring us closer to the truth. This is going to bring us closer to justice. Now, if you're familiar with my theory as far as the Word of God, which is a theory that I didn't make up, alright, it's actually been around for a long time. It's written in a book, by the way, a long time ago. My theory on the Word of God is if you deny it, or if you forget it, or if you ignore it, it will eventually be the end of you. You're responsible for doing that. You understand? It got lost in your head, and nobody can control what goes on in your head. Alright, so she did it. Alright, so it makes you wonder, well, what exactly happened in her head to make this happen? Or you can have any number of theories, but the theory that I find that is that it makes sense is that exactly what I said, exactly what all these other people are committing suicide for. They heard the word of God, it was put in their head, and they ignored it, or perhaps they didn't realize it at the time. But inevitably it did bring about their death, this happening, right? The reason is because, you know what I'm saying, you don't hear God speaking in your head. Right? I don't know what you would call it, what you think is speaking in your head, and a lot of people attest to this, that they hear a voice, they hear someone talking. I mean, might as well say almost everybody is told y'all, you know, shoot, I have a subconscious and it speaks to me. The subconscious, there's a voice speaking to me, or maybe in certain cases there's multiple voices speaking to you. None of those voices are good, right? None of those voices are God. You may as well consider all those voices Satan itself. Or if you're afraid to say it like that, it's definitely not God, it's something else. And many times it's very bad. It says very bad things to us. And it has us wondering why, like, dude, why is there a voice inside my head saying very bad things to me? What is this? What it is Satan, and I already pointed this out, Satan's in the back of your head doing this. Telling you any number of things, all sort of things. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's telling you lies. It's telling you lies. And the thing is, if Satan or whoever you want is speaking in the back of your head all day, who do you think he's arguing against? Who do you think he's arguing against? That's right, the Word of God. But however, God does not have to speak in your head. God remains like this in the back of your head. The Word of God is established already in your head. It will never ever leave you. Alright, whether or not you want to acknowledge it is a different story, but the Word of God has been put in your head by somebody other than you. And you have this voice talking to you constantly, especially if you're in depression. Alright, you're going to more so have the voice telling you things. And lots of times it's bad things, and you don't even know why it's doing it. It's arguing in the back of your head with the Word of God. You're only hearing one voice, or you're only hearing a voice coming from one direction. It's arguing. So you have to know that the Word of God is somewhere down in there deep. Like I said, this conflict will bring the end of you. And as I've established, you know, when it comes to these suicides, which are many times very unnatural, you had to suspect that the drugs that they were on, and they're always going to be on these pills every time. You would suspect that those pills, what it did is it cut off the soul's empathy for the pain that the body feels. Right? And that's why they do like suicide in a way that's not even traditional. It doesn't hardly make sense, the hanging. Alright? So the soul, in a way, is cut off from the body, the pain of the body. The reason behind this is the painkillers, the pills that she took. However, it did not matter. Alright? Death was coming in one form or fashion. I don't know how soon it would have been. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? Who's to say? But death was coming for this little girl. Unfortunately, and it had everything to do with the Word of God. And certainly no way am I talking down on Katelyn Nicole. I think she's just beautiful. And I'm not even talking about physically, like, dude, just a beautiful person, like shining from the inside out. All right. In no way am I ragging on her, but did the word of God bring the end of her? Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. All right. And then at this point, you might be wondering, well, shoot, well, what was the lie? Because the theory goes, you don't have to grasp onto any number of lies. You only need one. One lie, if you buy into it hard enough, will take you down. That'll be the end of you, dude. At some point, somehow, in some way, shape, form, fashion, you're gonna be done for. All right. If you grasp onto one lie, and the thing is, of course, we all buy into lies throughout the day on a daily basis. Perhaps we buy into lies. All right. But the problem is when you buy into a lie with your whole heart, or perhaps just the majority of your heart, like you bought into that lie more than you bought into anything else at all. That is the problem. That is what leads to the death. It doesn't matter if you buy into certain little lies and stuff every day. Everybody does that. But so long as you don't believe the lie with your whole heart, so long as the majority of your heart is not invested in that lie, basically you're safe. You're safe from that. Once you invest yourself enough, that's when you're getting into the danger zone. That's when you're going to see death by any number of ways: cancer, diabetes, lung problems, like I said, heart problems. The list goes on and on. Anything that you could think of. How do people die? All right. The reason is because they bought into a lie so hard. So the question becomes this: if I'm such a genius, if that is the case, well then what lie did Katelyn buy into? What was the lie then? Because a lot of people, they're not going to want to hear my theory. They're not going to want to entertain the notion. So the first question that they would ask is, well then what lie, Mr. Genius? What lie was it that Katelyn Nicole bought into? I'm here to tell you Katelyn Nicole Davis was an individual. I have no idea. I have no idea what lie inevitably was the one that took her out. Couldn't tell you. But if we're going to be speaking on people who were hanging themselves, you know what I'm saying? And we're seeing a number of just notable instances of people hanging themselves. If that's what we're talking about, I'm willing to venture a guess. All right, and this is my guess. The lie, if I had to guess right now, that Katelyn Nicole bought into is this: you are alone. So a lot of people buying into that lie right now, all over the world. It's just that simple. And yeah, there's gonna be a voice in the back of your head yapping about it, telling all these people who wind up hanging themselves and committing suicide and all sort of deals. The voice is going to be saying, among other things, you are alone. Alright. The reason that's a lie, and you could tell, if you happen to believe in God, and you know, a lot of people get very scared when I say that. They get very awkward. They get, you know, they want to leave. They really want to leave when I say the word God, and it makes you wonder why. But the thing is, if you do believe in God, alright, some sort of higher power, even if you don't believe in the God that I do, but if you do believe in God, you'll understand, well, that you're a child of God. Now, all these people out here, people you don't know, and people you do know, they're also children of God. And they're under the thumb of this higher power. They're at his whim, right? Because they're all connected to him. So with that being said, the simple lie of you're alone, you are alone in this, is preposterous, because you ain't never alone. And that is the truth. That is the word of God. And you probably heard it before. You think you're alone? You think you're desperate right now. You're not ever alone. It's not even possible on this earth to be alone. Sure, it's possible to feel all sort of lonely. Sure, it's possible to be in solitary confinement and stuff and really be in a bad situation. But the truth of the matter is that it is impossible to be alone here. Right? If you're looking for proof on that sort of stuff, you don't have to go any farther than Katelyn Nicole Davis's fan pages on Facebook, and all the people all over the internet who heard this story and are heartbroken. You don't have to go no farther. You understand? You are never alone. See, the thing is, people get desperate. People get themselves in a situation that they feel like, oh, dang it, I'm alone. I got this voice telling me in the back of my head, I'm alone in this. I can't get out of this. I don't know how to get out of this. And they get very desperate. They get very antsy. But you understand that that's a lie. You're not ever alone. See, when you see all these hundreds and thousands of people who know Katelyn Nicole's name now, who understand the story, and their hearts broken over that, they're just weeping day and night over this. Do you see how you ain't never alone? Under God, as a child of God, you understand there's children of God all over the world. You're never alone. And it's a lie that creeps into everybody's heads who's committing these suicides. As to all the other different lies that they might have bought into, I don't know. They're individual people, man. But you see that you are alone is a bold, in-your-face lie that some of us succumb to. Alright, what I had to let you know is that it's completely impossible. I don't care who you're talking about. I mean, even if you consider, like, for example, John the Baptist, you understand that John the Baptist died in a cold-ass jail cell, all alone, just waiting for his head to get chopped off. Why? Because he believed in God. Why? Because he believed in Jesus. Alright, that's what happened to him. John the Baptist's name, just for example, will live on forever and ever and never be forgotten. John the Baptist was never alone, not a moment in his life. Was he a recluse? Yeah. Was he probably autistic? Yeah. Was he ever alone? No, not for a second. Not for a second. That is a terrible lie. That comes from Satan. It also comes from a voice in the back of your head. You know this. I've heard it before. I've heard that voice. Have you heard that voice? Yeah, you have. You've heard it before. In times of desperation, someone telling you that you're alone. And most of us, we get past that. We make it through. We realize, no, we were never alone. That was a lie being told in the back of our heads. Why? Because Satan's arguing with the Word of God. You're not going to hear the Word of God in your head. You're going to hear it from other people. Alright? So, unfortunately, that's what I had to give y'all today. Katelyn Nicole, she bought into a lie. Her death, she's responsible for it. As far as everybody around her, like I said before, and I'll say it until I'm gone, right? They're all guilty. All of them. All of them are guilty. Alright, so let's switch the topic a little bit. You understand that you ain't seeing much progress, right? You understand that. You understand that chances are, the great probability is won't nobody see a jail cell, dude. You need to get past that. You need to go over that. Because here's the thing. Some people are going to be waiting for progress. And they're going to be waiting for justice. Right? And they're going to find out maybe later than sooner. It ain't coming, dude. You're waiting. You're waiting for what? You're waiting. Why are you waiting? Why are you sitting back and just thinking, oh man, stuff is working stuff out. This police department, they better get on their job, dude. They better start doing, what we pay them to do. Check this out. The police department is doing what you pay them to do. You're totally missing this whole situation for what it is. Your perspective is kind of all jumbled, and I don't blame you because you're angry probably. And so that's what it's going to do. It's going to jumble your perspective. How in the world are you going to blame the Polk County Police Department? Can I ask you that? Can I ask you that? Because if the laws were on their side, you might imagine Anthony Lee Rogers, at least, number one, among other people, they'd be sitting in a jail cell right now. People are looking at the Polk County Police Department and other police departments, and they're thinking, and they're sitting there and they're waiting. And they're thinking, well, why aren't they doing their job? They are doing their job. You understand that the laws aren't set up in the way that I mean, if the cops were to round up these individuals, to include Anthony Lee Rogers, you understand that that would be vigilante justice. It would be against the law. And yet still y'all are expecting them to do that, dude. If the law is your problem, you might want to go and see if you can try and fix it. Talk to some representatives or something like that. You're going to have to go that way. Sitting around waiting for the police department to do something, you're going to find that's a dead-end road. Alright? So that being said, like I said, we shouldn't lose hope. There actually is no reason to lose hope. That is the word of God. Right? So let's just think about it. I mean, we could brainstorm. Me, myself, I'm pretty damn simple. Alright? I'm a simple individual. There's nothing very smart or special about me. We want justice, right? Alright, I told you ain't nobody gonna see a jail cell. You can blame Polk County Police all you want about it. Go for it. Ain't nobody gonna see a jail cell. You want justice, right? You want justice? Alright, let's consider this. You live in America, right? So do I. Or a lot of people do. There's some people around the world that see this video. Alright, so you live in America. All these people who are involved, who you're looking at and you're pointing your fingers at them, they also live in America. Right? Here's one thing I tell you about America. You're gonna need money, irregardless. I don't care who you are. Alright, that's the name of the game. You're gonna need money. Alright, you think you're gonna survive here? You think you're gonna have a house and stuff and food? You are going to need money. Alright, so let's think about that. Alright. People like Anthony Lee Rogers. People like, say, a Luke Callahan, just throw him out there. Irregardless, they're going to need money. You want to put justice on them, right? You don't want to go outside of the law. You don't want to have to murder these people or anything like that. Of course, we never advocate for violence and stuff upon this channel. And I'm sure all y'all out there aren't advocating violence, but here's the thing. These people need money. I don't think you're getting it, right? But I think some of y'all out there are starting to get it. These people need it. They need money. Alright? So let's take Anthony Lee Rogers for instance. Alright? He has a job probably. Alright? He probably works for someone. If not, he works for himself. Irregardless, he needs money. Alright? So if we want justice, if we really want justice, why don't we just create pariahs out of these people? They're not going to see a jail cell, remember. Alright? It's completely within our power. For example, if you're in the area, or perhaps if you're not in the area, technically I could do the same thing. Find out where Anthony Lee Rogers gets his money. Alright? And what you do is you throw a wrench in that whole situation. Alright? And I'm not saying go outside of the law and go to all sort of extent. What I'm saying is that, you know, people who employed Anthony Lee Rogers, they probably know of his background, or maybe they don't somehow. Alright, they probably know of his background. It's well within our power as a society, as a free society, to question them. What are they doing? How in the world are they going to sleep at night and paying this man money? This man over here, we got reason to believe he's all sort of guilty. You know what I'm saying? And we have reason to believe that he don't need a job. He don't need money. In fact, you know what? He can go off in a ditch and die somewhere. For all we care. Thing is, we're going to get justice regardless. Alright? From what I heard, God struck him with testicle cancer. I mean, justice is going to be had on Anthony Lee Rogers whether we do anything or not. But if we're out here talking about, oh, you know, we need to see justice, oh, we're waiting on these people and they ain't giving us justice. Justice is ours. Alright? And we could do it very simply, like I said, with no violence, with no breaking of the law. Cut off his money. See what I'm saying? You cut off his money. Hey, go ahead. If you're in the area of Luke Callahan, why don't you cut off his money? And thing is, I can't tell you that I'm not going to give it a shot too. Probably I am. Probably I am going to talk to people. Probably I am going to talk to people and talk to them over and over and over. until well, they just run out of money, right? Because you ever think about these people and stuff, you ever wonder yourself, how does Casey Anthony, I mean, she didn't get no justice, and some people might be steamed about that. They might be steamed about that still. And all sort of examples, I mean, you can talk about hundreds of thousands of examples off top, right? But some people, just for example, might be thinking of Casey Anthony and thinking, well, she didn't get justice. She totally missed justice. Where is her money coming from? Where are these people's money coming from? You understand? They ain't safe. They ain't safe at all. Not in America. Alright? See, justice will be had. This progress that we're having won't be stopped. Alright? And we don't even hardly need the police. We don't hardly need detectives. We are the detectives. You understand? There is a whole bunch of hope. There's a whole bunch of light at the end of this tunnel, and we're starting to see it. Alright? So anyways, I'll holler at y'all, man. I hope this was beneficial to some of y'all out there. And of course, man, throw me some comments, throw me some words, throw me advice. I promise you, I ain't scared of the Word of God. And I understand that the Word of God is going to come from others who have different perspectives, different angles, different opinions. They know certain things that maybe I don't know. I ain't afraid of the Word of God, y'all. You come and holler at me, because I'm balls deep up in this situation, this case, dude. This ain't going to stop. And those out there who think that they scared of justice, well, you got another thing coming. You really do. And I'll holler at you too. It's July the 25th, 2017.